That one obviously a little more active. You can see the power line bouncing in the foreground there. The fuel right there. Anytime, John will know, anytime we hit 68 or greater, we're talking behind the scenes. That's when we have to be concerned that, that we could be talking about tornadoes. And so the moisture has matured to the point where even though it is night, these storms still could potentially try to produce tornadoes. So if you're on the north side of Columbus, you're under a tornado warning. We need to be in that tornado safe place. We're fortunate still that we have not lost power, at least at this location here, though as I kind of check some things behind the scenes on power outages, just kind of see how those have progressed. There are more than there were, but they're not as many as there could be. I'm going to go specifically to the four-county electric power outage map here. And we'll pull that up for folks. You can see that rain starting to pick up as that moves in. And there are some power outages, but they remain fairly scattered. Some, as you can see there, south of Columbus in Lowndes County, a grouping there. But of course, the more substantial clustering when you go back into northern Choctaw County, where the majority of the power outages are reported there south of Mathiston, close to where that tornado crossed near the Natchez Trace about a couple of hours ago at this point here. As we bring that back down and we come back here, of course, you can see that the things getting more active there in Columbus. As we bring it back to storm track Doppler radar, the north side of town in particular, I'm have to probably can we pull up that north side camera on 3? Well, yeah, in Columbus. Where was that? Was that Ashton's video?
No, it's not up.
Okay.
North side's though.
Yeah.
It'll
Okay.
Be up in just,
Okay.
yep,
Once north side's up, we're gonna kind of leave that up for a few minutes here because I'm probably going to try to double box this here as this moves in, because it is, there's a couple spots there. That one right there is a very isolated area. Let's double check. I mean, up here is about where we'd expect to see something, just south of the Air Force Base, if this were going to do it. So I know most of the city grid of Columbus is out of this tornado warning. But this is obviously not very far removed. I mean, if we're talking, this is, north of 82, no more than about 4 miles. That's, 3 miles. So that's pretty close. So, I mean, I would be within steps of my tornado safe place in all of Columbus, but certainly if you're north of 82, we need to be in your tornado safe place there in Lowndes County. That's certainly, if you're west of the 45 alternate 82 interchange, obviously you're fine. Okay, where is he at? This is our Jake White in West Point right now, just a little bit outside. Okay, outside the fire station in West Point there. We'll have to have him check and see if they've had reports of damage there. I don't foresee a lot. Let's go ahead and pull up that video if we could there. We're now down to probably just a heavier rainfall, kind of similar shot we've had earlier, and it looks like things have calmed down. So that's the thing. Sometimes you go to shelter here, you're in it for a few minutes, come back out, you're like, well, nothing happened. Good. That's kind of the goal, isn't it? Go to shelter and nothing happened. It's a lot better than went to shelter and something bad happened. So it's inconvenient, but it's an activity that research says men need to model for the rest of their families. Because women are more likely to shelter. They have that motherly instinct. Guys, fight or flight. You're not fighting a tornado. As much as you want to try, if it forms, it will win. It just is what it is. So Highway 50 just south of that, just west of Highway 45 in Columbus, where we have a couple of areas of circulation. The fact that we have the one here near the split, and this is about where the Columbus Middle School is there, very near the split, that's where this is showing a little bit more organization right now. I'm going to go back to the rainfall mode there. See, there's a couple spots where we're not quite there, but this is just on the edge of producing something, and maybe we just keep it just on the edge. That'd be fine with me. But certainly if you're out here and you're just east there of 45 on the north side of Columbus, we need to be in a tornado shelter, a tornado safe place. Even the National Weather Service talking about how this is a very impressive, if you tilt up a little bit, northwest of Columbus. And so what they mean by that is if I take my radar here and I go up a couple of scans where I'm looking higher up in the thunderstorm, very quickly it gets, well, remember we were talking about that donut hole earlier when we were a mile away from the radar? What do we got? One of those. But we have to look up because we're not a mile away now. We're a lot closer to the radar, so we're looking a lot closer to the surface there. So we come back down to surface level, It's trying really hard. It's just not quite there at the surface. Fortunately, but unfortunately, that is really close. So we're not at tornado on the ground stage with this, but north of Columbus, we are extremely close near Humber Lane, I should say, Gatlin Road, Jess Lyons Road on the north side of Columbus. I would place our area of rotation, our area of circulation, and frankly, let's just call it what it is, developing tornado, north here of the split between 45 and 50, near the Columbus Middle School where we have it. So let's put a storm track on this. Let's double check the angle that this is moving more northeast. And so I'm going to give you some relative times here. I don't know we'll get anything on this close one. We show the Ridgeland subdivision within 2 minutes. Let's clear that off. And let's go to all the churches and everything that we can find on here. So we show Christian Life Tabernacle at 625. Well, that just a second ago as our time changes here. So basically right now. Hopewell Baptist Church, we're looking at 627 for you. The Ridgeland Subdivision, 626. Mount Zion Church at 629. Anderson Grove Elementary School at 631. Anderson Grove Church at 632. And 632, Mount Pleasant Church. I'm going to go wider on a track here for a moment. I don't want to stay in super close, but I will come back. South of Caledonia, if you live in Caledonia, I want you in a tornado safe place. I believe this could potentially be a developing tornado right now as it's moving toward the north and east. We show this again toward the Woodland Church area at 635, Lone Oak Church at 638, and 639, the Caledonia Gas Turbine Power Station. So that is probably a developing tornado. I briefly need to go back and check our other thunderstorm that's prompted now a new tornado warning that does affect locations in southern Choctaw County and also including Louisville. This is the one that moved over top of the Kosciuszko area. To kind of refresh where we have been, the winds remain extremely strong on this. The debris mode on this, though, shows it does not look like we have had any sort of tornado debris on this. Any kind of returns we're getting the blue there don't line up perfectly. But certainly this is a one that we have to watch extremely closely. And this is not quite as populated as the one up around Columbus, so I'm going to have to go back there here really quickly because that one's kind of ratcheting up in a populated area. We'll look at Louisville. Mark this, take a picture. We're looking at 657 for Louisville, an area of rotation that is strengthening on this. Rule Hill 636, Kurt 639, High Point 651. So working its way eventually toward the southern portion there of Oktibbeha County as well as northern Noxubee County if it can continue at that rate there. Let's come in to our tornado warned thunderstorm up here closer to Columbus, north side of Columbus, a storm that's trying really hard near the 45. That is, hold on. Okay, let's be crystal clear about something here. I feel pretty confident that unless we get some kind of miracle, I'm always open to that, that the next scan, this is probably producing a tornado. Let's double check the rainfall mode. That's not quite lined up right. Let's make sure that that is the same scan here we're looking at. Okay, so this is the correct scan. We've gotten a new rainfall scan in. That means maybe we got a tornado that's touched down here north of Columbus, just east of 45, just north of Jess Lyons Road. This is the spot we were tracking a minute ago here. That's probably right where I'm circling it, a tornado debris signature showing up here. This is the spot we were looking at just a moment ago there. Look at the wind mode. Yes, we have a tornado on the ground north of Columbus. You could argue north side of Columbus there, near Ridge Road, north of Jess Lyons Road, west of Wolf Road. This is a confirmed tornado on the ground at this moment here in Lowndes County. Get on the phone, call somebody, make sure they know. I'm going to, just for my purposes here, take 2 seconds while I put a storm track on this and restart my Facebook Live just to make sure that as many folks as possible know that. In fact, Zach, would you grab my phone and just restart that Facebook Live real quick here so it hits as many people as possible? I appreciate that. Let's get the storm track for all the things we possibly can, but this is a tornado on the ground moving toward the south locations, a little south of Caledonia. This is kind of just southwest or southeast of the Columbus Air Force Base. Tornado on the ground, tornado damage detected here. We need to be in that tornado safe place. Let's pop up those rules. First off, we'll define it. What are we looking at? Doppler radar detecting rotation that is not just very soon, but confirming debris on storm track Doppler radar on the north side of Columbus, just north of Columbus, where this is at this time. So a confirmed tornado on the ground. So we need to be need to be dealing with our tornado safety rules as best as we can. It does look like, Zach, it went vertical. Might have to angle that. That's fine. We'll make that work. There. Okay, so we got that Facebook Live back up and going. Apologize, we just want to make sure we have as many folks as possible knowing at this instant here. So let's reset here for a moment. We believe we have a tornado on the ground. Let's get orientation here. Columbus, Midtown, down south, Lion Hills area. We're north of that. We're up here close to Ridge Road, east of US 45, east of southeast of the Columbus Air Force Base. Tornado debris signature detected here, so we need to be in a sturdy structure. I'll circle it for you, but this is a tornado on the ground producing damage now near Gatlin Road, east of, this is US 45, north of Jess Lyons Road, where this tornado is moving toward the east. If you know somebody that lives on Nelson Road or Nielsen Road or Wolf Road, this is headed toward you, a tornado on the ground doing damage as we speak. That's what this is right here that we're looking at on Storm Track Doppler radar. The only reason that this blue is showing up here for a moment is because the radar is looking at this and saying a couple of things. Number one, that we have the wind coming together to show the rotation for a tornado. Number two, that at that spot and now moving ahead, and this is the issue that we need to keep in mind here. These are moving. This isn't just one spot, it stays there for a few minutes and then jumps. This is constantly moving. Near Nelson Road, it's saying that I have that rotation. And where I have the rotation, the same information is saying, hey, I've got things of all sorts of different sizes there. I might have things this size. I might have things this size. Well, they're not exactly the same size, are they? So it says, wait, we got things of all different sizes in there. That's a low correlation. And that happens not when raindrops, which are all about the same size and about the same area, show up, but when you have all kinds of big things, small things showing up all in the same pixel there. And it says, wait, that's not right. And that is the way it knows that there is tornado debris. There is tornado damage that has occurred. And so this storm continues near Nelson Road, moving toward Mississippi Highway 12 and Caledonia-Steens Road, Covington Road, and Nielsen Road, as we mentioned, in the path of this. North of Steens, where this is targeting at this point a confirmed tornado on the ground doing damage right now. I'm going to check with John, check with Maggie. Any reports coming in from folks there? I don't know that we probably have a lot, and I don't want to stay on the shot very long. Let's get back to the two box.
Let's hear. I do not have any reports right now from that area other than what you're passing on right now. But I saw the National Weather Service has observed, so I believe I'm trying to find if there is a spotter or somebody has observed officially, but I cannot find anything right now.
Well, I think that's tornado debris. Because of the tornado debris, they went with that.
Okay.
That would be my guess. So they go observed. So we have an observed on the tornado that is causing damage at this instant here on the north side there of Columbus. So it's approaching Mississippi Highway 12. Looking at the wind mode here, position's correct. So let's take everything we have here and let's just push it forward. It has been on the ground. We need to assume it'll be right about there within the next few moments as we're going to go back to that debris mode here. And so right along Nielsen Road and Wolf Road, the intersection there, just northeast of that by about 500 feet is where our tornado is right now. I believe that is Wright Road. Wright Road, it's approaching Wright Road and approaching Steens Road along Highway 12. Let's get our track off of here for a moment. Let's instead place our arrow on to figure out how long. So again, I'm not circling the spot. I'm circling where I think it's going to come up the next time. It will be within this red. It might even be a little farther ahead. So based on that, we're no more than 1 minute to Wright Road and no more than 1 minute to about the intersection of Wright Road and Caledonia-Steens Road, about 2 minutes to there, and that intersection of Highway 12 where it hits Steens Road, Caledonia-Steens Road, maybe 3 minutes away from there. So this is a tornado we believe to be on the ground just north of Columbus doing damage at this instant here. And that's the reason why, of course, we've been covering this storm all day long, these different storms. And this is, again, we talked about how, you know, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. This isn't going to fool us. We saw it produce it earlier. That's why we've kept on this thunderstorm, is because it has, again, produced another tornado. Now, we're going to go to the correlation coefficient, the debris tracker here again. It was pretty close on where we had it. So as we kind of adjust this ahead and look where we're at, that intersection, you see that time there to that Caledonia-Steens Road, we're now only 2 minutes away from that. So get on the phone. Let's call some folks down here, make sure they know. I know it's not the most populated area, but it is a still pretty healthy populated area here on the north side of Lowndes County, and make sure they're aware that there's a tornado on the ground doing damage. Let's do a longer track on this. And again, I'm going to make the assumption on this, we're still going, they're down to 35 miles per hour on the speed. We're going to drop our speed to 35 miles per hour. John, what I need behind the scenes here is to look at that storm that was in Kosciuszko moving toward Louisville. I need to know how badly I need to go back to that right now. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Let's do a longer track. And we're going to get to Haituki and Kingville and Kennedy, and I'm going to make this go a little more east. Still have some time. We're at about 18 minutes to Fernbank, Haituki at about 25 minutes, Kingville at 29 minutes, Kennedy 34 minutes. This is a tornado on the ground doing damage north side of Columbus or just north of Columbus at this instant, depending on where that city limit cuts off there. Certainly a lot of folks that would identify them as residents of Columbus and residents of Steens involved in this. Going back to what is a very pronounced, likely strong tornado return here on Storm Track Doppler radar. This is bright. That is bright. That's not a good sign. Looking at the debris mode here, interesting that you can see the debris on each side of what's likely a tornado. That's my radar here saying, hey, tornado debris signature somewhere close. Pay attention. Clearly, as you're looking at here on Storm Track Doppler radar, we are seeing that tornado debris showing up here, unfortunately, right now on what's a fairly strong rotation. I'm going to take a moment here. We're going to see how fast this is rotating either direction there, and I'm going to have to probably go to the straight line wind for a moment to get so negative 73 one direction, so that's inbound toward the radar at 73, and then 54 the other way. So John DeLucic, 73.54, huh?
The difference is 19 a difference.
No, not the difference, but like what's the full number?
54 is 127.
127. John's my calculator. He's excellent at that. So 127 miles per hour rotation shear related to this, as this is a significant tornado still in progress. And unfortunately, for just a moment here, that is a significant debris signature showing up on here. That black blob that you see right there, they're going to see this is a strong tornado on the ground north of Columbus along Highway 12. I want to be crystal clear here. This is a life-threatening situation. This is not a maybe. This is not a possibly. When this threat came up, and we've been talking about this the last few days, we have said that if one can form, it could become strong. This is, as you can see, considerable damage, a possibility out of what is now a large and potentially violent tornado near Vaughan Robinson Road. Your phone call right now could be a lifesaver. I'm going to put a track on here for a moment. You can see some folks ahead there. I know there's not a lot of different landmarks that are showing up, but this is a strong tornado causing significant damage right now. Is it significant damage to trees? Rather that than homes and businesses and people, but it's hitting something, and it's doing it in a big way right now. Woodlawn Church, 638. 641 there, Lone Oak Church, Reeves Chapel at 643. This is a strong tornado on the ground causing significant damage and could be a killer if not respected. I mean, we were doing all that mental math a second ago, and I think we kind of rendered that useless on here, because this is, if I go just what the radar itself is kind of saying, I'll plop this on a couple different spots. It says 100 miles per hour there. I actually probably think it's probably a little greater than that. And so we go one direction there, 57. Yeah, I mean, about 110 miles per hour. And it's definitely strong at this moment. And that big blue blob you see there, that is our tornado debris along Highway 12. How wide is it? Unfortunately, our debris field is now almost 2 miles wide. And this is not 2 minutes in time. I'm looking at the top number there. My debris field on what's being detected, and this is not at ground level, but it's about 2 miles wide. Now, what we have to check on 3, Maggie, is we need to look and see how high the TDS shows up. You'll look at the correlation coefficient, and then we'll look at the different scans on the right, and we'll see how high, and down kind of the bottom of the middle, there's a place where it says the height in feet. Yes, John?
National Weather Service going with considerable on that one, and also want to mention that circulation coming out of Kosciuszko area and Atala County area headed toward the Louisville area, so that's another thing about that.
Is it, how strong is it looking?
It looks very strong on the circulation, looking at right here on looking at the radar.
Okay, let's get a track on this. We will go briefly, very briefly, to take a look at that. And I mean, unless we prove that one is more intense. So let's get you kind of absolute time here for a moment. don't got a whole lot of populated communities, that show up there. Haitogi, we're looking at about 7 o'clock, assuming the speed that we have it here. But this is a confirmed large and extremely dangerous tornado on the ground moving toward Kingville and obviously in Lowndes County. Let's take 2 seconds here. Let's go southwest. Let's make sure this isn't one of them that's still fairly broad near Kerr community. Let's get you a storm track on it. That's still fairly broad rotation. So Kerr, we show 640 high point there at 652. Webster at 706, 708. Mill Creek and Bethton there at 710. The reason I say that's broad is because, well, it was. Let's look here at rainfall. It's kind of in this sort of open area there. I'd expect my interaction to be right down there. It's not, so that positioning's not quite right on that. So, John, keep an eye on that. We'll come back to that. But there's no question, unfortunately, that this is a strong, violent tornado potentially on the ground here. And still, the bright return you see right there is the tornado debris still showing up on this. And that's where our tornado is still showing up at this moment. A strong tornado on the ground north of Columbus, just east of Mississippi Highway 12, north of Von Robertson Road, west of Sanders Mill Road, west of the Alabama state line. How far west of the Alabama state line? Again, 35 miles per hour. I want to make sure I have the right speed there because this has slowed down to 35 miles per hour. I show it no more than about 3 minutes or 2 miles west of the Alabama state line based on its last known location. So this is a large, strong tornado potentially on the ground still, though my debris is a little more diffuse than it was a moment ago there. Strongest when it was back here close to Wright Road and that intersection there of Caledonia-Steens Road. If Wayne, we're looking for a place, Wayne, if we're looking for a place north side of Columbus here and just near Wright Road as it approaches Mississippi Highway 12, somewhere in that zone there is where.
Relay that to your boy Gabe.
Okay. Yeah, you'll have to get a hold of him. Our Gabe Maynor kind of is down there tracking this, and so we will we'll get back with him here in just a minute. Let's go wider here for a second. So we have a strong tornado that has touched down within the last couple of minutes. As you can see on the top of the screen there, considerable damage possible out of this strong tornado that's on the ground near Sanders Mill Road, northeast of Columbus, east of Steens. Let's get a wide shot here for just a moment, show you what has happened. As we talked about this storm producing damage when it was out in Choctaw County, going through that stage where it tried to reorganize. Now, as it's moved through the north side here of Columbus, just east of the Columbus Air Force Base, just kind of southeast of Columbus Air Force Base, putting down a strong tornado that at this point is potentially still on the ground as it crosses or attempts to cross or will cross the Alabama state line within the next few moments here. Where you see on our wind mode here on Storm Track Doppler radar near Sanders Mill Road, that is where our rotation is significant and not quite as strong as maybe it was a couple of minutes ago, but at least we've had at least one brief, what looked to be fairly strong tornado depicted there. Our tornado debris more diffuse, more spread out. Let's go up, and I'll touch with touch base here in a minute with our Maggie McCauley on that. She's getting with Gabe at this moment here. Would you take over that phone call so I can talk to her about something real quick? How high did you find that? About 1,000? Mm-hmm. Okay, but no higher than 1,000.
It was like 1,008, yeah.
Do you have that still up on 3?
Yes.
Okay, give me just a moment here.
I won't touch it. You can.
So what you'll do is okay, so you can find it there. So then you go up a couple scans. You go 0.9 like that, and we'll see where it disappears essentially.
Okay.
So
okay.
maybe there-ish.
Yeah.
So I show that about 7,000 feet. About how high? That might still be showing up there at. Let me show everyone behind the scenes what I'm doing here for just a moment. So give me a second to do this. And the reason this is important is to know just how strong this tornado has been or was. So as we look at this, I'm looking at the tornado debris, very substantial as we showed you right there, that little dot you see. Okay, I'm going to go up and show just how that tornado debris was lofted higher and higher. How high it's lofted has in some cases been correlated. Research has shown that it could be related back to how strong the tornado is. I show it to about 9,000 feet there. Let's see if we have it. It gets messy, so it gets where it's hard to tell beyond that. But somewhere potentially around 9,000 feet or so is a reasonable number. Why is that important? I'm going to go back to our regular mode here on Storm Track Doppler radar. The reason that is important is because research has shown the higher it's lofted, the stronger the tornado is. So as I kind of pop this on here, and research isn't perfect, when you start talking about tornado damage lofted 8 to 15,000 feet, that's a strong tornado. Anything EF2 or greater, we count as strong tornado because that's where you're damaging well-built structures. So about 111 to 135 miles per hour on that. Again, damage surveys are done after the fact. Just trying to, get a gauge on it in the nearer term. Let's reset things here for a moment. Current time is 6:45. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon, alongside our meteorologist Maggie McCauley, who you heard from a second ago, our John DeLusick, all kind of assessing things behind the scenes here as they figure out what has happened, what is happening for the northern part there of Lowndes County. What I can tell you is this: our tornado has crossed the Alabama state line. It is no longer in Lowndes County. So if you are in Lowndes County, you know somebody in Lowndes County, we come out of that tornado safe place here because the tornado has moved out. So next question. We've assessed where it is, right there. And let's go ahead and circle right there, okay? Next question, is it still producing damage? I still show debris there, but tornado debris can stay up in the clouds or stay up aloft after the tornado has lifted. So let's look at rainfall mode here, or the reflectivity, the brightness. And looking at this, it's a little more questionable. My strongest blue there kind of falls out of alignment with where my wind is. My wind should be right there, so I need to look for debris right there. There's at least some still. So it's reasonable. I still have tornado debris maybe showing up there, but not like what we had a little bit ago. So it's possible, if not maybe even probable, that our tornado has weakened and maybe has lifted. Regardless, I don't think that really changes how we address this if we're out here in Lamar County. If you're in Lamar County, we need to be in that tornado safe place. Lowest floor of a sturdy structure. You're under this tornado warning because of this storm that produced the tornado when it was north of Columbus, and still could have a tornado on the ground. In fact, latest labeling from the National Weather Service still says confirmed tornado touchdown from the National Weather Service there in the Birmingham area. So definitely watching this extremely closely for you folks there. Now let's look at the angle and where this has gone and make sure we have a good angle on our storm track. This has gone way more east than north. Not quite straight east, but pretty close. So latest scans here, let's take it from where it is now and let's kind of do our cone where we add in every single stop and everything we could find there to give you as many folks as possible in advance of this potentially. And so we're looking, as I adjust this here for you, we're looking at Asbury Church at 647. We need to, if you live near these spots, find a sturdy structure, go to the middle of the lowest floor of that structure. A small windowless room, wrap up in blankets and pillows, put on a helmet to protect yourself from debris, and stay there until we can give you the all clear. As this is moving eastward, there's some times on your screen as this tornado has weakened a little bit. And it is conceivable, looking at that fairly messy wind mode, that our tornado has lifted. I would still, if I live near County Road 10, Alabama, in Lamar County, Alabama, I would be at least within steps of my tornado safe place. Let's zip back southwest for a moment here. Let's look at the High Point community northwest of Louisville. We were looking very closely at this a minute ago. We had to kind of stay on the Lowndes County storm. Let's now fully address where we're at with this for a moment. Near Bethany Ebenezer Road, still rotation. Looks pretty strong on here, but is it again that deceptive rotation? When it's looked like this today, it's been a little touch and go on whether or not that actually is producing. So that's, I mean, a good sign, if I can tell you a good sign, but that doesn't mean that it's not producing a tornado. So let's go ahead and track this forward. I'm going to go still about 35 to 40 miles per hour. And so you can see there, Webster at 705, 706, Mill Creek, and Bethedin about 708. John, I have not been able to go through some of the reports that came in on the chat a minute ago. I'm going to toss it to you for a moment. I need to check on some things here behind the scenes if I can. So can we go to our meteorologist, John DeLusick, in the Weather Center for just a second to kind of, the stuff that's come through our severe weather chat in the last few minutes.
Okay.
I haven't hit a lot of that because we've been on radar. What do we have?
We've got we've had a lot of reports of again of damage to some places, like looking at right now in Maben, a shop in Maben that was it looks like has a tree on it. We do have that was just recently sent by Maggie over here. We've got again some roofs that have been peeled back from earlier this evening around the Sherwood area, around the what was that, Sherwood? Yeah, I believe Sherwood.
Yeah.
Yep, Sherwood area. So again, we've had some damage that has been so far reported, but again, major structural damage has not yet been reported, but I wouldn't be surprised we will see something like that as we go through the evening hours, again, because it's nighttime. It's hard to catch all the damage at nighttime. Have you got any reports, Maggie, of any structural damage beyond the trees that are down on the structures?
No, all we've seen really is that tree damage, John, especially to this one in Maben that we just got over a shop. I know Gabe, though, and Jake are headed to Columbus, and they're going to notify us if they see anything on the roadways, anything like that from that tornado that just came through north of Columbus.
So again, that system right now, again, moving through the Columbus area, again, just now east of Columbus into Alabama, and then we're watching the one that's about around the Louisville area, again, that has the potential of maybe a tornado with that still on the ground at times. And now we've not had anything confirmed on the ground with the Louisville one, that was Kosciuszko area.
We have not had a tornado confirmed with that yet. So, I mean, hopefully that's the case, but you know, it's the hope and pray, and you know, pray for those folks that have already had damage, unfortunately, tonight. We do revisit, of course, that storm up around Columbus that has produced tornado damage recently. Looking at the debris mode, there's still debris showing up on this storm. But the wind almost completely says that is probably still remnant debris as opposed to tornado on the ground. Still, I'm not perfect. Radar's not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Let's, you know, if it's produced a large one and a strong one, which it likely did, then we just have to give it extra credit. You know, I guess the Alabama fans will like it. When Alabama comes to town, doesn't matter if they have a couple losses. You take them seriously, right? So when a storm like this produces the kind of damage we saw, we take it seriously, right? So that's what we're going to do on this if we're moving over here toward Kingville. We show 13 minutes for you, about less than half that time, you know, 7-8 minutes as it approaches Alabama Highway 17. Still some tornado debris being lofted up in the air related to this thunderstorm. Those more significant ones, it takes a while for that to settle out. And if that sounds a little bit scary, it probably should. That is a scary situation, unfortunately, still unfolding on this. We do have crews in Lowndes County heading toward the sites where we had some of the damage there. Are Gabe Maynor, Jake White, and I think we have one other person on the way there as well, Christopher Knowles, working their way toward where that damage is, northern part of Lowndes County. We're just trying to make sure we've kept them as safe as possible and away from danger. We want to bring you the latest information we can, but we also want to do it as safely as we can. We've got to go wide here for a second. We've been real close in. Okay, so thing number one. Nothing here that looks tornado producing. There might be something north of Greenville that we'll have to watch. They've gone tornado possible on that one, but that's also in the radar hole of all radar holes, so there's no good way to really get a good look at that. So I would say that, you know, northern half of the area, things are looking decent, but it's not inconceivable one of these at some point could attempt to produce a tornado in the northern half of the area. We don't have watches out at this point. We're hoping that's not going to end up being the case. And down here, Louisville, as John was talking a lot about a moment ago here, this thunderstorm has rotation with it. It's been fairly broad, and looking at that, we still show that to be the case. Does that really change how we act? We just have to act by getting in that tornado safe place and hoping for the best, and certainly that's where we find ourselves on this one here as we kind of look at the latest information on that thunderstorm. Still Doppler radar indicated rotation. So let's track this forward. We'll say about 35, 40 miles per hour. Again, Webster, we show about 7:05, Mill Creek 7:07, Bethedin about 7:08, and Lynn Creek at 7:26. Let's come back to I just want to double check our rainfall there. It's still a weird presentation on this. So weird meaning it doesn't line up as obvious as something like this, which is fairly textbook, unfortunately. So we're in Lamar County, Alabama, looking at a confirmed tornado touchdown. That has been, at least recently, a confirmed tornado on the ground. Could still potentially be one out here north of Mud Creek Road, west of County Road 9, west of Alabama Highway 17. approaching the Haituki area, I still show tornado debris. I mean, that's what this is right here on a fairly widespread, or wide area. Still probably some tornado debris being detected. I'm going to click between a couple of these different colors here. But yeah, I mean, it's still probably a little bit of whatever, whether it's leaves or something. It's probably leaves that's taking its time falling out of the sky on this one here. Hopefully that's all it is. Going back a couple of scans, let's just make sure we have our spot right. I mean, you can see how this has gone from solidly still a tornado to broadening substantially over the last little bit here. Hopefully a trend that continues. But clearly this is still a storm that needs respecting, as we mentioned a moment ago there. Hey, real quick, does anybody have chat over there? Does anybody have NWS chat over there?
What?
Does anybody? Okay, just wanted to double check, make sure we're good on that.
Want us to check on it?
Yes, yes, please. Okay. So, and I have that for on air, but I just want to make sure the newsroom has the same information. Okay. So there's a way in which we communicate back and forth with the National Weather Service, and so we're just making sure that everyone in the newsroom's got the information they need as they're kind of checking with their sources. And hopefully here in a few minutes we can talk to the emergency manager down in Lowndes County, Cindy Lawrence down there, just kind of find out how things are. So hopefully we can get that here in a few minutes. We're looking now right along, I'd say County Road 8 near Walnut Grove Road, where I show our kind of peak area of interest. This is broad. This is highly unlikely to be a strong tornado at this instant. It might not be a tornado at all, but it's certainly kind of in the zone where it's really close still at this time. So, I mean, I would, based on what we've had, take it still fairly seriously. And as you can see there, National Weather Service in Birmingham goes ahead and cancels the tornado warning part of it because they've seen the weakening we've seen on it. Now, I would still, if I were them, respect it, but that's at least an encouraging sign. As we continue to, now those pictures you sent in, this is some more damage. This is some damage from Mabin. It would be same storm here. This would be in Mabin. I want to see the person who sent. Do we have a name on that one, Maggie?
Yes, let me look. We did have a name on it.
About 6 minutes ago. Okay.
Yep. It's DB, his last name is Clay.
Okay. Mr. Clay from DB Clay from the Mabin area with some of the tree damage that we had there. Looks like largely just some tree limbs knocked off of a pine tree there. So it does look as though obviously some damage there. As I kind of slide down in our discussion, some in the West Point area, at least a window knocked out. We're getting more information on the damage in Lowndes County, and we'll have that for you coming up here in a few minutes. Some more time?
It's 500 customers out of power.
We'll bring in our John DeLucic here for a second.
Just tell you, 500 customers are most likely out of power, at least right now, over eastern sections of Lowndes County. That's 500 customers.
Oh, way more than that. Way more than that.
Yeah.
I'm looking at thousands.
This is the sheriff of
Okay.
Lowndes County. They're getting hit real hard.
Okay, Sheriff Hawkins, this is Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopp on WTVA 9 News. I know you are slammed, so I'll take whatever information you can give us to pass along. What do you have?
Matt, right now we're getting reports of a tornado on the ground. We've got several structures that have been hit. We're getting reports of people trapped in houses out on Caledonia-Steens area, on Highway 12, up around the 7,000 block. We've had a volunteer fire department that has been reported to be hit. We got units headed that way trying to determine if anybody's hurt and what's going on, but at this point, that's about all I can tell you right now.
You've told us a ton there. What can we do for you?
Just get it out to the public to take shelter and take cover. If they see a sighting, to report it and give us an idea where it's headed.
I'll tell you this. The tornado has exited the county and lifted, so you all are good to go from that. I will give you kind of a time frame. There's one that's still interesting back toward Louisville. I don't foresee that hitting the part of the county you're talking about there. There's something near Eupora, but that should stay north as well. You should have a couple of hours to get out and kind of do some triage, or just go out and figure out what's kind of happening between now and then.
Okay.
So
we do have our storm shelters open at Caledonia and at New Hope. Those shelters are open. If anybody's looking to shelter, they can go there.
Okay, and one more time, just so I'm looking at someone here. Can you repeat the reports you had at the beginning, just so we can jot a couple of those down, make sure we're good on that. So where you had the entrapments, where you had some of those concerns, one more time. You had a couple intersections, and then I'll let you go.
We've had several reports of houses that have been hit. We've had reports of people trapped in a house. We've had a report of a volunteer fire department being hit out on Highway 12 in that area. The 7,000 block of Highway 12 is the area that's been hit, and also in the Caledonia-Steens Road area, close to Malone Grocery.
Okay. Sheriff Hawkins, thank you so much. I know you're really busy. We'll try to check back in with you later, but our prayers are with you and the folks in Lowndes County tonight. And if you need anything, just let us know. All right?
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it.
Okay, we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
All right. Bye.
That's Lowndes County Sheriff Hawkins. If you could, I don't know if you heard the tone in his voice. It was not exactly a positive tone. It was. I'm not going to say he's overwhelmed, but clearly he has a high level of concern based on what he's seen there. Anytime we start talking about entrapments, there's concerns that maybe trapped in that something worse has happened. Hopefully that is not the case. But with this bright blob that you see there is what we call a debris signature. Some people call it a debris ball. But regardless, you had a fairly significant tornado that touched down, moved near that Highway 12 area. I was trying to zoom in and see if we could see that volunteer fire department. I was not able to tell for sure looking at radar here. And what John was alluding to before we talked to Sheriff Hawkins is the amount of power outages is significant. I'm going to hit refresh on this just in case the number's gone up. I mean, do some rough math here for a second. North of the Columbus area, we show 3,000 out. South, we show another 2,400 or so. So, I mean, you're talking 4, 5, 6, so 30, 40, 50. So, I mean, 5,600, customers there in Lowndes County alone out related to this. So, fairly significant. There might have been some kind of transmission line that went out, and that's why you take it out down south. The fact you have such a big number down there, that might also be, they have a way that they can do predictive outages, and I do wonder if that might be a predictive outage. No, that's verified that they've had 2,400 down there. So clearly there have been some pretty significant power outages related to this. That it should not be a shock considering what we watched on Storm Track Doppler radar, which is about as rough as one of these looks, unfortunately. Clearly there were considerable issues, and any prayers that y'all at home feel to send up for those folks in Lowndes County, I'm sure they would appreciate it. Let's come back here to Louisville. We have a tornado warning continuing for you at this time near the Webster community on Highway 25 there north of Louisville. I've been watching this for a while. This one does continue to kind of show up, and it's looking, here's the deal on this. This actually looks a little, unfortunately, a little more healthy than it did a few minutes ago, where I can see a well-defined area kind of wrapping down on the back side of this there, unfortunately. So there we, let's look at the wind mode here. Again, we're ways away, so it's difficult to kind of nail this down because we're looking just so high up. But this is one that has to be respected as well. It's easy for me to know as a meteorologist to respect this one. We're right there next to the radar, and I see everything that we're trained to see. This one's far enough away that I see a lot of what we're trained to see, but just not as clearly. And I do want to bring in our meteorologist, John DeLucy, who did have something to say a second ago.
Everything's fine and dandy right now.
Say again?
Everything's good right now. I thought I had something, but nothing right now.
Okay. Okay, I appreciate that, John. I mean, as soon as you get something, let me know here. Back to rainfall mode, let's get a storm track on this. We'll do kind of the short range storm track. And actually, I'm going to take a moment here. Hold on. Let's look closely at this for a moment. This is close enough. We're gonna have to. This is. Okay, hold on. Let's go back here to the wind mode. Let's get reorganized for a second here along 25. Let's get the angle correct. Okay, and let's get the speed. I want to make sure we have the speed right. The speed's been kind of all over the place because we've had a bunch of different storms with changing speeds. I'm going to make sure I get this right. I think it's worth whatever time it takes to get this right. So we'll do last half hour times 2. So about 40 miles per hour is what this is going. Okay. Edit. And make sure we're at 40 miles an hour. We are. Okay. Apologize that took a second. I'd rather take a second, make it bad TV, and get it right, as opposed to just, guess based off of that. So based off of what we're talking about there, our storm track showing Bethedin at about 7:08. We're looking at Lynn Creek at 7:25. This is Doppler radar indicated rotation. It's been rotating for a long time. We have not been able to confirm tornado damage on it yet. As we've said over and over again, that unfortunately that damage confirmation comes after the fact. But clearly the strong rotation on this has been significant, and we're looking fairly high up. I want to throw in a few other places if we can. Bethedin 7:09, 7:11 to Bevel Hill Church, Singleton Church at 7:14, Antioch Church 7:15, 7:16 Lonely Valley Church. Current time is 7:05. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon alongside our meteorologist John DeLusick and Maggie McCauley. What we've had is a significant damaging tornado causing entrapments and significant damage north of the Columbus area. It's part of a storm that produced damage when it was in Choctaw County as well. And that thunderstorm also produced damage closer to West Point, though at this point I think it'd be difficult to say that was tornado damage. I think it was more straight line wind damage as the storm was kind of organizing. Also produced damage around Mabin. So that thunderstorm is now out here in Lamar County, Alabama, and we do have crews that are going to assess that damage situation up here in northern Lowndes County. We'll continue to have updates on that information as it comes in through the evening. As we look here into Lamar County, National Weather Service in Birmingham keeping a severe thunderstorm warning for wind damage potential on this. This is still strongly rotating. Well, this is still rotating. This is still organized. This is not as strongly rotating as it was when it produced the tornado. So I don't want to overuse the word strongly rotating, but it is rotating, and I would say it is organizing. And the reason I would say it is organizing, I'll see if I can set this loop to really short. Let's see if I can let's do a 15-minute loop. Okay, and I'll let that go. So notice how this kind of, might be better served on this side here, how this kind of curves up this way. The way that curves up this way near Bethel Road, that is the winds kind of wrapping back around into this there. So I think this is getting closer to a point where it could try to produce a tornado. We're not there yet. And it might exit Lamar County into Fayette County before that happens. Fayette County covered by the TV stations in Birmingham. We turn it over to them. They do a great job over there. A lot of great stations over there. A lot of good meteorologists that cover this kind of stuff. But this is kind of going to wrap around there. And so this is trying to strengthen a bit more south of Alabama Highway 18 south and east of Vernon. So I'm going to get you that track where we put on everything that we could possibly find. And it's really the kind of a very broad area there that we're still looking at that. But Temple Star Church we show at 7:18. A Little Hope Church 7:11, 7:17 there. And Beth Barra Baptist Church, Mount Lebanon Missionary Baptist Church. And then Mount Olive Church showing up there at 7:19. Shady Grove Church 7:20 and 7:22 Lexapalila Church. This would be in Lamar County, Alabama. I know in some of these cases these have a tendency to be popular church names. These are all in Lamar County, Alabama. Our Jake White is getting close to position there in Lowndes County. We should have an update from him with live video and information from the scene of that likely significant tornado touchdown here in a minute. We do near the Bethedin community have rotation still showing up that has been pretty consistent, but has become more dominant. If I make this a longer loop, is this as slow as I can make this go? Yeah, it's as slow as I can make this go. I'm going to make it a 30-minute loop instead. You'll notice how there's a handoff on this storm. So Louisville right there. And notice how you kind of have multiple rotations, last couple scans there, and then one kind of peels back and then this one takes off. That's a sign that one of the, sometimes storms split. I'll have to look at the reflectivity on this. But one way or another, this storm has been able to, kind of split, I suppose. You had kind of your old little area rotation on the backside there, and then the one that kind of stuck with it, but typically they would completely split. That's not the case. But what this is doing is it's moving more east. What we would say is right turning a little bit, because typically if you look at it, this is the direction everything's going. Anything to the right of that angle would count as right turning. So to a certain extent, I can make that argument there, and so that has what has been allowing this area of rotation to try to strengthen a bit more. Let's check the debris mode on Storm Track Doppler radar. I don't see tornado debris showing up there at this instant. But I do, hold on, have a report, 6:15, that wouldn't have been this storm, would it? 3 east-northeast to Kosciuszko at 6:15 of a little bit of damage there. Let's check out which storm that was. That time can't be right. Hold on. Let's go to our Jake White. We don't have it right? Okay, so our Jake White is on the scene in near Highway 12, where, as you heard from the sheriff there in Lowndes County, Eddie Hawkins, a few minutes ago, there have been significant reports of damage. He's on the scene of where that tornado kind of moved through about 40 minutes ago or so, a little less than 40 minutes ago. He is there, and apparently the family's out of a house, and there's some issues going on there. So he is be booting up live for us here in just a few moments. He's trying to get that all together. That storm, obviously, with significant damage, is the one that we are watching out here moving into Lamar County, moving through Lamar County, that I frankly think is, looking at that, it's getting a little bit more organized once again. Let's look at the wind mode on Storm Track Doppler radar, see how it's kind of bent back in all the way. If you were to watch that loop that we had, and I'll put it back to 15 minutes, and we'll leave it looping for a second here. You'll notice how it kind of curls the last couple scans here. It kind of bends back a little more. So it starts off a little more like this, and it bends more like that. That's it getting more organized. Now, does it take the next step and produce a tornado? It could, but that might end up happening right as it crosses out of Lamar County near Alabama Highway 18, where we are tracking that at this point here, moving toward locations north of Fayette. So if you know some folks out there, I'm going to get you a storm track. We're going to keep tracking this as it exits the county, but once it crosses the county line, we're going to hand that over to the good folks over at National Weather Service Birmingham, and of course all the Birmingham TV stations that cover that. And I did that track, and then I didn't get any cities that ended up popping up in it there. But you can see still some time there before it makes it the Hubertville and Fowler's Crossroads as it works its way that direction. But not quite the tornado producing level. It is fairly organized, and frankly, looking at the rainfall mode, not that far removed from it. So we need to be in that tornado safe place, which we talked a lot about tonight. We talk a lot about all these nights that we have this. That's a sturdy structure, middle of the lowest floor, small windowless room, wrap up in blankets, pillows, and stay there until we can give you the all clear. Haituki, Vernon, you're in the all clear from this. And if you live west of Alabama Highway 18, you're still probably in the heavier rainfall, but you're probably past the worst of this. And then I'm going to look at I'll look here closer at that. That's really close. What gets me is this part here. And let's look at the wind. That's so close to producing. If that doesn't, I would be kind of shocked. And hopefully it'll be the case, but I'd be kind of shocked that it doesn't produce another tornado as soon as it crosses the Fayette County line. It's going to be right there about on the county line. If you live in Lamar County, eastern Lamar County, near Highway 18, we've got to be in that tornado safe place. I can't confirm a tornado touchdown yet, but unfortunately it's possible it could be coming. Now, it doesn't look as obvious. The Lowndes County storm looked like it was about to really go. This one looks like it's trying to produce a tornado, but the fact it's produced a strong tornado that's caused entrapments, that's caused significant damage, that's why I highly recommend that we, do our due diligence and take that one seriously. Let's come back here to Winston County for a moment. And let's look up here toward Bethedon, the northern part of the county, looking at the wind mode on Storm Track Doppler radar. I mean, very strong returns still showing up on this. As I go to that kind of wind mode and I kind of peg the radar to see what it's going to kick back out, as you can see, almost 90 miles per hour, 100 miles per hour of that rotation still showing up on this there. In fact, it does look like National Weather Service in Jackson is going to extend this tornado warning eastward because of that. So let's clear that off here to get you a time. So that warning expected to expire at 7:30. They have extended this to once again include locations in Oktibbeha County, and this would basically be for the rest of Lowndes County that wasn't in the last tornado warning. So let's check the angle on this. And let's get a time here. I did not do Sheriff Hawkins any favors with my time check a little bit ago. Let's double check that. Columbus proper, we show about 45 minutes or so as it works its way toward you in theory. Let's double check the angle. The angle was more south than that. I could really probably go more with this as the correct angle. Regardless, this is the next storm we have to watch. And as we talked a lot about, a lot of our projections have had these storms that show long-lived rotations. That's the reason We were placed under that level 4 risk because if a tornado could form, it could become strong. We've had that happen once. We hope we don't have that happen a second time here. This is not at that level yet, but it could potentially at some point reach that level. Let's widen things out. Let's look at the whole area as a whole. Let's make sure we're not missing something. I'm going to come in. We're going to look at Western Clay for a moment here, and I do want to know as soon as they're ready behind the scenes down in Lowndes County, you let me know. All right. Okay, I appreciate that. I mean, even if we just get a shot of anything at this point here on where they're at, let's try to get that up. Okay, I appreciate that. I mean, even if they're driving, I'll take it. Because these storms up here north of back toward the Memphis area, these are unlikely to produce tornadoes. I would say the chance is non-zero on some of this stuff out here in the Delta, but I would say it's fairly low. Now, I'll have Maggie and John check behind the scenes, kind of look at some projections and see if there's something else out there. Let's take just a second. I think it's worth everybody's time to just kind of pull up what some of our projections are showing right now. And again, models are imperfect, but let's just check and see what it thinks, especially the northern half. I think we know what's going to happen southeastern half of the area. We're going to probably be dealing with these storms trying to produce tornadoes until they stop later tonight. And you can see that's what the models do. They go, oh, look, all these red swatches. There's a bunch of chances still there. The northern part, not as much. It has some brief things where there's clearly still some rotation, but less likely to be those long track sort of tornadoes. So, okay, that's at least a somewhat positive for the northern half of the area. Unfortunately, southeastern third, it's not as much the case. So as we look at the storm back here toward Calhoun City, below severe limits, maybe some hail, no tornadoes from that. We look at western Clay County, just moved through Mabin near Phoebe, no tornadoes out of this. Maybe a couple hailstones, heavy rainfall, main issue with that. It's not really an environment where it's going to probably strengthen to produce a tornado. Crazier things have happened, but and it is at least kind of by itself. But that atmosphere is fairly worked over from the last big storm that came through, the last 2 big storms that came through. So there might not be enough left on that. We'll see. And then we come down here toward Oktibbeha, Lowndes, and Noxubee counties. That's where our storm clearly is the strongest at this instant, and still that same area of rotation. I mean, you always see those little spinning circles there. That's the model kind of looking aloft in the thunderstorm and saying, hey, or the radar, there's something going on up here. There is. And clearly it's rotating fairly effectively at that height. Now you see this big red blob. I think that's probably some bad data on the latest scan here. Okay, I would say just in the far northeast tip of Webster County is where we have probably our most impressive area of circulation at this instant. So as we kind of track that out, we've been going about 40 miles per hour. Let's keep it about 40 miles per hour. We show Oktok within 10 minutes and Crawford within 21 minutes. An area of rotation that, as we define it, is not a tornado that's been spotted, not a radar-confirmed tornado, but is a place where we have rotation that could develop into a tornado soon, maybe very soon. And with what we have already seen to be kind of what I hope is the worst-case scenario that we'll see tonight already happen, with entrapments, things like that, that's not something we want to see, and certainly not something we want to see twice. So we need to be in a sturdy structure. And so again, those tornado safety rules, a sturdy structure is the middle of the lowest floor of a well-built building. A small windowless room, a place where you can wrap up in blankets, pillows, put on a helmet to protect yourself, and stay there until we can give you the all clear. And we've talked about this a number of times, but unsafe places. There's some folks that unfortunately still need our prayers there in Lowndes County because of what's come through, that are trapped in their structure because it was not safe enough. Mobile homes are not safe enough when we talk about the potential for strong tornadoes. That's what we still have tonight out of this. If a tornado can form, it could be strong. We've been saying that for the last couple of days. So mobile homes, cars, trucks, we don't want to find ourselves in any of those. So how do you stay out of cars and trucks? You prepare accordingly. Now, when you're well ahead of this, if I track this farther ahead, as you can see there, we still have about 40 minutes until this makes it to Columbus proper. That's right. Unfortunately for folks in Columbus, we've got another one that is working toward you. So scan that code there with your phone. It'll give you storm shelters on our website, or you can go to WTVA.com, search for shelters or storm shelters, and it'll find you what you're looking for there. Our Christopher Knowles is in Lowndes County and continuing to assess what is unfortunately a developing damage situation for folks there. He's joining us live from the northern part of the county. You can see obviously a lot of law enforcement there on the scene. As I try to look, I mean, clearly that's a power pole and that's transformers and things that are on the road. This is a reminder here for a second. We're going to talk to Chris in just a second, but this is a reminder here for a moment that you never want to drive over down power lines. And unfortunately, the people we need to be talking to about this can't probably watch us because the power is out. They might still be able to pick us up on the WTVA Weather and News app, but we don't want to drive over power lines because bad things can happen. We'll just leave it at that. And we appreciate all those power crews that are going to have a very long night trying to get things back up and going. Let's bring our Christopher Knowles in here. I'm going to step off for a moment here. What are you seeing in Lowndes County now?
Yes, Matt, right here you see there are electric companies coming in to pick up these down power lines. There's a transformer laying in the ground right now, and the electric companies are getting that. And there's also a mobile home that has been completely destroyed over to the right over here. And there are many trees that are down, many power cables that are down, and there's a car garage to the left. You can't see it because of the trucks, but there's a garage there with cars full of damage, and many trees are down in the areas, completely just destroyed over in this area.
Christopher, are you able to zoom in on that mobile home and the damage there? And I guess the next question is, everyone okay at that location?
Yes, you can't really see it that much because of the darkness, but everyone has been taken out and everyone is okay and safe right now.
Okay, and power, I'm assuming those power lines are out, the power is out at that location. They have them shut off and everything, correct?
Yes, power is out. There are many sheriffs and deputies out right now, and many power companies trying to come in right now to try to restore power.
I know it's dark and it can be kind of foreign area. Do you know where you're at, whereabout you're located?
I'm actually right off of this road. It is, 1 second.
No worries. Take your
right
time.
Off of Highway.
It's a Highway 12.
Mississippi
Okay.
Highway 12, near the intersection of Columbus-Steens Road, right around the corner where the grocery store was, where many people were trapped inside of there.
Okay, so you referenced the entrapments in was it Monroe's, or what's the name of the grocery store again?
I believe it was Monroe's grocery store. It was a grocery store right down the road. Yeah, it was a grocery store right down the road, and many people were entrapped there. They are out now, but there are a lot of crews still trying to get everyone out. There's a building just over here to my right. I'm going to try to zoom in on it so you can see it. But there's a building right there where there are crews trying to patch up some of the area right across here. I think the image is a bit clearer now, but that building is completely damaged right here.
So with the entrapments, do we know anything? I mean, obviously it sounds like the injuries were at least limited there. Is that an accurate way to describe it?
Yes, I would say limited. Everyone did eventually make it out. I don't know about the actual injuries of the individuals, but they were able to escape.
Do we know if the folks there were sheltering in some place? Like sometimes you can take shelter in the coolers and freezer, and they had intentionally sought out that location?
I don't know. I do not know yet if that was why they were there. But making the assumption of the timing, I'm assuming that's why, but I do not know that.
Okay, that's our Christopher Knowles there along Highway 12 in Lowndes County, north of the Steens area, near the intersection of Highway 12 and Steens Road and Caledonia-Steens Road. Appreciate your help. I know you've got a busy night ahead of you. When you get something more, let us know. Thank you so much, and be safe. And again, thoughts and prayers with those folks in Lowndes County. This is about where Christopher was, and if we go back, unfortunately, and look at it again, that's almost exactly where that came through. So there's a lot of times we're like, well, we don't know if it's tornado damage. That's tornado damage that that you saw a moment ago there. And frankly, it's probably a little more significant down where Christopher can't get yet. Our Christopher Knowles there, one of a number of crews. Our Jake White and Gabe Maynor also, we'll be hearing from them here in a little bit. They're in the northern part of Lowndes County right now, continuing to assess things.